I still remember the exact shade of pink on that invitation. Soft rose, with gold lettering that caught the light when you tilted it. My daughter Emma held it like it was made of glass, her 8-year-old fingers trembling slightly as she traced the embossed letters spelling out her cousin Madison's name. "It's so pretty, Mama," she whispered. "Can I wear my blue dress? The one with the flowers?" The invitation was for Madison's 10th birthday party at my sister Diane's house. Well, calling it a house feels wrong. Estate, maybe. The kind of place you see in magazines, with the circular driveway and the fountain that runs year-round even though we're in California and there's a drought. I looked at Emma's face, all lit up with excitement, and something twisted in my chest. That blue dress she loved so much came from Target. I'd waited for the clearance rack, got it for $12. The flowers were starting to fade from washing, and there was a tiny stain near the hem that I could never quite get out, no matter how much spray and wash I used, of course. "Baby," I said, forcing brightness into my voice, "you look beautiful." Diane and I grew up sharing a bedroom in a 2-bedroom apartment in Riverside. We shared clothes, shoes, sometimes even toothpaste when Mom's check came late. She was 3 years older and never let me forget it. But back then, we were in it together. Both of us swore we'd get out, make something of ourselves, never struggle the way Mom did after Dad left. Funny how differently those promises can turn out. Diane married Trevor when she was 23. He was already climbing the corporate ladder at some tech company I still don't fully understand. Stock options, equity, words that might as well have been in another language to me. By the time I met Daniel at 25, sweet, steady Daniel who drove a delivery truck and made me laugh until my sides hurt, Diane was already living in Newport Beach and driving a Mercedes. I married for love. She'd probably say she did too, but I don't know. Trevor always seemed more like an accessory to her life than a partner in it. Matching, expensive, carefully maintained. The week before Madison's party, I picked up extra shifts at the diner where I waitressed. My feet ached in that deep-down way that no amount of soaking could fix, but I needed the money. Daniel's hours had been cut at the distribution center, and Emma needed new shoes. The sole on her right sneaker had come completely loose, flopping when she walked. She'd stopped mentioning it, which somehow made it worse. I found a gift for Madison at the mall, a craft set with beads and string for making friendship bracelets. It cost $38, which made my stomach hurt, but it was wrapped in shiny paper and had a big bow. It looked like the kind of gift a cousin should bring to a birthday party. Emma practiced what she'd say when she gave it to Madison. "Happy birthday. I hope you like it." Over and over in the bathroom mirror, clutching that present like it held the secrets to the universe. The morning of the party, I ironed Emma's blue dress until every wrinkle surrendered. I braided her hair the way she liked, with the little ribbons woven through. She had Daniel's dark eyes and my mother's smile. And looking at her that morning, dressed up and hopeful, I thought she was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. "Do you think Madison will like my present?" she asked in the car. "She's going to love it, sweetheart. Do you think there'll be a bounce house?" "Maybe." I didn't tell her that I'd seen Diane's Instagram post about hiring party entertainment professionals and renting the most exclusive, kid-friendly DJ in Orange County. Emma didn't have Instagram. She had an old iPad we'd gotten secondhand that she used for homework and the occasional game. Diane's neighborhood always made me feel small. The houses seemed to get bigger every time I visited. Or maybe I was just shrinking. We pulled up in our 2008 Honda Civic, and I tried not to notice the Teslas and BMWs lining the street. There was a valet parker, a kid who couldn't have been more than 19, looking bored in a white shirt and black vest. "We can park ourselves," I told him. He looked at our car like it might have a disease. I found a spot 3 blocks away. Emma carried her present with both hands, careful not to drop it. The walk gave me time to prepare myself, to put on the smile I wore at family gatherings. The one that said everything was fine. We were doing just fine. Nothing to see here. The front yard had been transformed into something out of a fairy tale. White tents, balloon arches in pink and gold, tables covered in silk cloths. There must have been 50 kids running around, maybe more. Professional face painters worked at one station, a magician at another. The bounce house Emma had wondered about was enormous, a castle with towers and slides. Wow, Emma breathed. Diane spotted us from across the lawn. She was wearing white linen pants and a silk blouse, oversized sunglasses perched on her head. She'd lost weight since I'd last seen her, and her teeth seemed whiter somehow too perfect. Sharon. She air-kissed near my cheek, her perfume overwhelming. You made it. Traffic okay? It was fine. Her eyes dropped to Emma, and I saw something flicker across her face. Not quite disapproval, but close. Assessment, maybe. The way you'd look at a crack in a wall, deciding if it needs fixing. Hi, and Diane, Emma said, holding up her present. Where should I put this? Oh, just. The gift table is over there, Diane gestured vaguely. Madison's around somewhere. With her friends. She said friends in a way that seemed to put air quotes around it. Though her hands never moved, Emma ran off toward the gift table, her blue dress bright against all the pastels and designer labels on the other kids. I watched her set down her wrapped craft kit among presents that came in bags from FAO Schwartz and boxes that said American Girl. The party looks amazing, I said to Diane. Because that's what you say. Trevor spared no expense. You know how he is. She sipped from a champagne flute. Champagne. At a 10-year-old's birthday party. Madison only turns double digits once. Emma's been so excited. Diane was looking past me, waving at someone. The Hendersons made it. Excuse me for just a second. I stood alone next to a table laden with appetizers that probably cost more than my grocery budget for a month. Phyllo cups with something creamy inside. Skewers of grilled shrimp. Tiny sandwiches cut into shapes. I watched Emma approach a group of girls near the bounce house. Madison was in the center, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my rent. Pink tulle and sequins, like a princess. The other girls circled her like satellites, all of them dressed in clothes with brand names I recognized from the windows at South Coast Plaza. Emma said something. Madison turned. I was too far away to hear, but I could read body language. The slight step back. The whisper to the girl next to her. The way Madison's nose wrinkled. Just a little. Emma's shoulders curved inward. I started walking toward them. That mother instinct firing up. But before I could get close, Diane materialized next to Madison. She bent down, said something in her daughter's ear. Madison nodded, and they both looked at Emma. Then Diane straightened up and walked toward me, intercepting me before I could reach the girls. Sharon, can we talk for a second? Her voice was light, but her hand on my elbow was firm. She steered me toward the side of the house, away from the party. What's wrong? I asked. Diane sighed. Like I was being difficult. Look, I don't want to make this awkward, but Madison has asked that Emma maybe play with some of the other kids. Not her friend group. I stared at her. What? Her friends are from her school, from her activities. They have a dynamic, you know. Emma would just feel left out. I'm trying to avoid hurt feelings. Emma is her cousin. I know. And she's welcome here. But Diane glanced around, lowered her voice. Sharon. Come on, look at the other kids. Look at what they're wearing, how they talk. Emma would be more comfortable with kids more. On her level. On her level. The words hung there between us like smoke. On her level. I repeated slowly. You know what I mean. I'm not trying to be unkind. I'm being realistic. These kids, they talk about their ski trips and their summer homes, and there it's just different. I don't want Emma to feel bad. You don't want Madison to be embarrassed. Diane's face went tight. That's not fair, isn't it? We stood there in the shadow of her enormous house, and I saw her clearly for the first time in years. Not my sister. Not the girl who used to sneak me extra dessert when Mom wasn't looking. Someone else. Someone who'd climbed up so high she couldn't see the ground anymore. I think you should go, she said quietly. I'll make an excuse. Tell everyone Emma wasn't feeling well. You're kicking us out. I'm trying to avoid a scene. The party noise seemed very far away. The music, the laughter, the sound of children playing. My daughter was somewhere in that crowd, holding on to her hope that this would be a good day. I'm going to get Emma, I said. And we're leaving. Sharon, don't. I walked back around the house. Found Emma standing by herself near the bounce house entrance, watching the other kids jump inside. Her present was already lost in the pile, forgotten. Her blue dress with the fading flowers seemed to glow in the afternoon sun, bright and defiant and heartbreakingly cheap. "Emma," I called. She turned, and I saw she'd been crying. Not sobbing, just quiet tears that left tracks through the dust on her cheeks. "Can we go home?" she asked, her voice so small. "Yes, baby. We're going home." As we walked back to the car, I heard Diane call after us. Something about understanding. Something about maybe next time. I didn't turn around. Emma was quiet for the first 10 minutes of the drive. Then, Madison said I couldn't play with her because my dress was from the poor store. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. She said I smell like French fries because I worked in a diner. Because I came home smelling like grease and coffee and other people's meals. And Diane said, Emma's voice cracked. She said there's no room for bargain store kids at her party. I had to pull over. Right there on the side of the 55, I pulled onto the shoulder because I couldn't see through the tears and rage blurring my vision. "Your dress is beautiful," I said, turning to face my daughter. "You are beautiful and kind and worth 100 of them." Emma nodded, but I could tell she didn't believe me. How could she? She was 8. She just learned that her family didn't want her because we didn't have enough money. I'd learned it too, but I'd suspected longer. Drop your city in the comments, let's see how far this story travels. Daniel held me that night while I cried angry tears into his shoulder. He didn't say much, just stroked my hair and let me vent. That was Daniel's steady quiet there. "We're going to be okay," he said finally. "Emma's going to be okay. I want to hurt her," I admitted. "My own sister. And I want to hurt her. I know. That's not who I am. I know that too." But lying there in the dark, I couldn't stop thinking about Emma's face. The hope dying in her eyes. The way she'd asked so carefully if we could leave, like she thought it might be her fault. No, I thought. No, this isn't over. The thing about revenge is that it's supposed to be hot. Quick. A flash of anger and action and immediate satisfaction. Mine was cold, slow, patient. I didn't plan it that night, or even that week. I just started paying attention, watching, listening to the things Diane posted on social media, the casual brags disguised as gratitude. So blessed that Trevor's bonus was enough for the kitchen remodel. Can't believe Madison got into Westbridge Academy. All those tutoring hours paid off. I started making different choices. When Daniel suggested we could use his delivery connections to get me a part-time inventory job at the warehouse, I said yes, even though it meant leaving the diner. The warehouse paid more, had better hours, came with benefits. I took an online course in bookkeeping, stayed up after Emma went to bed, learning spreadsheets and tax codes. It was hard, my brain creaking like an old door, but I kept thinking about Emma's face in that blue dress. Within 6 months, I had a certification. Within a year, I had a full-time job doing accounting for a small construction company. The owner, Lou, was old-school Italian, ran everything on handshake deals and gut feelings. He needed someone to organize his chaos. I organized it. I found tax deductions he'd been missing for years, renegotiated contracts with suppliers, set up systems that saved thousands of dollars. Lou gave me a raise without me having to ask. Daniel got promoted to shift supervisor. Not huge money, but steady, better than it had been. We weren't rich. We'd never be rich like Diane and Trevor. But slowly, quietly, we stopped drowning. We started treading water. Then swimming. Emma got new shoes. Then new clothes. Not designer labels, but nice ones. From actual stores, not clearance racks. She stopped asking to see her cousin Madison. 2 years after the birthday party, Diane called me. We'd seen each other at Mom's 60th birthday and been civil, distant. She hadn't apologized. I hadn't expected her to. "Sharon, I need to ask you something," she said, her voice tight. "Are you good with numbers? Like, financial stuff? I'm an accountant now." "Why?" "Trevor's company is restructuring. They're offering early retirement packages to senior management." "That sounds good." "It's not." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "They want him out." He's been there 18 years, and they want him out. The severance is decent. But Sharon, we've been living on his salary. The mortgage on this house, Madison's school, the cars, everything is leveraged on him staying in that position. I should have felt satisfaction. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it more than I expected to. Could you maybe look at our finances? Help us figure out what to do. I don't know who else to ask. Trevor's too proud to admit how bad it might be. I thought about Emma, about that blue dress, about my sister's face when she said, "Bargain store kids, send me your information," I said. "I'll take a look." The files Diane sent me were a disaster. She and Trevor had been living beyond their means for years, assuming his income would just keep climbing. The house was mortgaged to the hilt. They had 3 car payments. Madison's private school was $30,000 a year. They belonged to a country club they visited maybe twice a year. It was all a house of cards, and Trevor's early retirement was the wind coming to blow it down. I spent a week going through everything, made spreadsheets, projections, scenarios. Then I drove to Newport Beach on a Saturday morning. Diane answered the door in yoga pants and an oversized sweater. No makeup, hair in a messy bun. She looked like the sister I remembered from childhood. Before the money and the Mercedes and the carefully cultivated image, "Come in," she said quietly. The house was as pristine as ever, but I noticed things this time. The fresh flowers were gone. The housekeeper's car wasn't in the driveway on a Saturday when it usually was. Small economies beginning. Trevor was in the kitchen, and he looked like he'd aged 10 years. Gray at the temples, worry lines etched deep. "Sharon," he said, "thanks for coming." I spread my papers on their granite kitchen island, showed them the numbers, the truth of their situation. "You need to sell the house," I said. "The mortgage is killing you. You could downsize, put the difference toward debt, and actually breathe." Madison School District, Diane started. "Public school is free. She'll survive. Plenty of kids get into good colleges from public schools." Trevor rubbed his face. "The country club membership, cancel it. You told me yourself you never go." I went through it all, item by item. The unnecessary expenses, the status symbols that weren't feeding anyone or keeping anyone warm. The difference between what they needed and what they'd convinced themselves they needed. Diane started crying halfway through. Not pretty tears, ugly ones. The kind that come with hiccups and smeared mascara that she didn't have on today anyway. "We're going to lose everything," she said. "No," I told her. "You're going to lose some things, but not everything." Trevor looked at me. "Why are you helping us?" After Diane told me what happened at Madison's party, I thought about Emma, who was now 10 herself, who still sometimes touched her clothes self-consciously when we went somewhere nice, who'd learned too young that love had conditions. "Because I'm not you," I said simply. "Because family is supposed to mean something." Diane looked up at me, her face blotchy and red. "I'm sorry. I should have said it before. I'm so sorry." "For what specifically?" She flinched. "For what I said. For kicking you out. For teaching Madison that money matters more than." Her voice broke. "God, Sharon, I turned into such an asshole." "Yeah," I agreed. "You did." We sat there in her expensive kitchen, in the house she was about to have to sell, and I saw something shift in her eyes. Understanding, maybe. Or just reality finally catching up with the fantasy she'd been living. "What do I tell Madison?" she asked. "She's going to lose her school, her friends, everything she knows." "You tell her the truth. That sometimes life changes. That you make it work." "She's going to hate me. Maybe for a while." I gathered my papers. "But she'll survive. Kids are tougher than you think." I stood to leave. Diane followed me to the door. "Sharon?" I turned. "Emma. How is she?" "She's good. Great, actually. Made honor roll last semester. Joined the art club. I'd like to see her, if that's okay. If you'd let me." I thought about it. Considered saying no, slamming that door in her face the way she'd slammed it in Emma's. But Emma deserved family. Real family. The kind that showed up even when things were hard. "We're having dinner next Sunday," I said. 5 o'clock. Nothing fancy. Just spaghetti. We'll be there. And Diane? Come in whatever you're wearing. No one cares. They sold the house for months later. Moved to a 4-bedroom in Irvine. Nice but normal. Madison enrolled in public school and, according to Diane, had a hard adjustment before making friends in the drama club. Trevor took a position at a smaller company, less prestigious but steadier. They sold 2 of their 3 cars. The first Sunday dinner was awkward. Madison didn't know what to say to Emma, and Emma was polite but distant. But by the 3rd dinner, they were talking about music. By the 5th, they were laughing together. Trevor became more human without the corporate armor. Started telling dad jokes, bad ones. Diane stopped posting her life on Instagram. Stopped performing for an invisible audience. At Christmas, Madison gave Emma a present. A craft kit, with beads and string for making friendship bracelets. I kept yours, Madison said quietly. The one you gave me at my party. I never opened it until we moved. I found it in a box. I'm sorry I was so mean. Emma looked at me, then back at Madison. Want to make some together? They sat cross-legged on our living room floor, our small living room in our small house, and made friendship bracelets. Pink and blue thread, tangled and imperfect and absolutely beautiful. Diane found me in the kitchen later, helping Daniel with dishes. Thank you, she said. For what? For being better than me. For showing me what actually matters. I dried a plate, set it in the cabinet. You would have figured it out. I don't think I would have. Not in time. She picked up a towel, started drying next to me, just like when we were kids, when Mom would wash and we'd dry, side by side in that tiny apartment kitchen. I don't want Emma to ever feel like she did that day, I said. Like she wasn't enough. I know. God, Sharon. I know. We worked in silence for a while. Daniel, bless him, took his coffee outside to give us space. What's it like? Diane asked finally. Living simpler? Easier, I admitted. Turns out you sleep better when you're not drowning in bills. Trevor keeps saying that he feels lighter. There's something to be said for only carrying what you need. She smiled. But it was sad. I wasted so much time. Then don't waste more. From the living room, we could hear Emma and Madison laughing. A sound like bells, like hope, like second chances. The truth is, I didn't destroy my sister. I didn't have to. Life did that, the way life does when you build everything on sand. But I also didn't abandon her when the tide came in. I threw her a rope, even after what she'd done, not because she deserved it. Because Emma was watching. Because I wanted my daughter to learn that you can be strong enough to hold grudges and wise enough to let them go. Because forgiveness isn't saying what someone did was okay. It's saying you're not going to let it poison you anymore. Emma's 11th birthday party was at our house. Small backyard, homemade cake, decorations from the party store. Madison came, and she and Emma were inseparable all afternoon. Diane and Trevor came too, helping with setup. Staying to clean up after. At one point, Diane found me sitting on the back step, watching the kids play. You got your revenge, she said, sitting next to me. What do you mean? You won. You stayed yourself. You didn't let what happened make you bitter. You kept being good. That's the best revenge there is. I thought about that. About whether I'd been seeking revenge at all, or just trying to survive. About whether helping her was kindness or punishment. About whether there was really any difference. I didn't do it for revenge, I said finally. Then why? I watched Emma, her face bright with happiness, surrounded by friends who loved her for exactly who she was. Not for what she wore or what we owned. Just for her, because someone had to show her that love doesn't have conditions, I said. That family means showing up. That being poor doesn't make you less. You did that. Yeah, I said. I did. Emma caught me watching and waved. Her bargain store dress because yes, I still shopped clearance. Just with less anxiety now spinning around her as she turned. Beautiful. Perfect. Mine. Diane put her arm around my shoulder. And for once, I didn't pull away. I'm still sorry, she said. I know. Can you forgive me? I thought about Emma crying in the car. About that moment when I'd pulled over on the highway. Both of us broken by cruelty disguised as sophistication. About how long I'd carried that anger. How heavy it had been. I'm working on it, I said honestly. Ask me again in a while, Fair enough. The sun was setting over our small, normal neighborhood. Not Newport Beach. Not magazine-worthy. Just home. Emma's laughter rang out across the yard, and I thought about how many years I'd spent feeling like we weren't enough. But here, now, watching my daughter celebrate surrounded by love, real love. The kind that showed up in cheap dresses and homemade cakes and being there even when it was hard, I realized something. We were always enough. We'd always been enough. It was the rest of the world that needed to catch up. Diane squeezed my shoulder. Thank you for not giving up on me. You're my sister, I said. Even when I wanted to hate you, you were still my sister. Does that mean it means I'm still working on it? But yeah, we're going to be okay. And you know what? We were not perfect. Not always easy, but okay. Better than okay, because at the end of the day, revenge isn't about destruction. Real revenge is building something better. It's being happy while they expected you to be bitter. It's extending grace when they offered none. It's teaching your daughter that her worth isn't measured in dollars or designer labels, but in the size of her heart and the strength of her character. My sister tried to teach Madison that we weren't good enough for her party. Life taught her differently, but it was Emma, in her clearance rag dress and her secondhand shoes, who taught Madison what actually matters. That's the thing about bargain store kids. We know the value of things. We know what's real and what's just wrapping paper, and that's worth more than all the champagne fountains and bounce house castles in the world. Emma ran up to me as the party wound down, her face flushed and happy. Mom, can Madison sleep over? I looked at Diane. She looked at me. Sure, baby, I said. She can stay. Madison's face lit up, and she hugged Emma tight. Two cousins. Two girls who were learning that family is complicated and messy and sometimes breaks your heart. But also that family can heal, can forgive, can start over, can be enough. Just as they are. Later that night, after the girls had fallen asleep in Emma's room, whispering and giggling until they couldn't keep their eyes open anymore, Daniel found me in the kitchen. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said, and realized I meant it. Yeah, I really am. He kissed my forehead. You're amazing. You know that. I'm just me. Exactly. I turned off the kitchen light and stood for a moment in the darkness, listening to the quiet sounds of my small, imperfect, beautiful life. My daughter sleeping peacefully. My husband steady breathing. My sister's daughter safe under our roof, learning what real family looks like. Bargain store kids. My sister had called us. Like it was an insult. Like it meant we were less. But bargain store kids know how to stretch a dollar. How to make something out of nothing. How to find joy in small things. How to survive and keep going and come out stronger on the other side. Bargain store kids know their value has nothing to do with their price tag. And that's not just survival. That's victory.